Hello everyone, and welcome back. So, did that thing scare you? I see. Do you want one of your own? All you have to do is invite one in. Alright, close your eyes and imagine. One should be there in the room with you in 3, 2... never mind, that's too much work. A much easier way is to purchase a Yuppie doll, the hot new product selling all around the New England area. Which is exactly what the analog horror today we'll be covering is about. All that, and interdimensional beings that latch onto your sense of dread. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. There is a lot to cover, so just settle in and relax as we travel to the beautiful state of New Hampshire.
If you're in the area of Brookline, New Hampshire, consider visiting Lake Botanico. Lake Botanico is a great visit any time of the year, even in the winter.
We'll be covering the Alvearium Logs today, I think that's how it's pronounced. An analog horror series created by Hollow Walls, which is a name that might sound familiar to you if you browse the horror side of Instagram, as he posts a lot of horror art there. I don't think any of it's too relevant to the current series, but it's all very well done. As usual, I recommend watching their videos first, and like the last few analog horrors I've covered, I'll go through the videos in release order, and when we reach the end, we can talk about all the events and discuss any theories. Are you okay with that? Good. Our first video is the Alvearium Logs Entry 1. In the description it states, video provided by an anonymous source. Spreading the word is all we can do. The video opens the same way that the Nintendo Wii does, with a warning. Warning, if you're viewing this video, send it to anyone you know. Spreading the word is the only way to help bring light to the situation covered in this video. It is all we can do. Viewer discretion is advised. And that doubles as a viewer discretion from me. There's going to be a few light jump scares throughout, so just warning in advance. And also, a lot of reading in this first video. Well, not from you. I'll be reading it. Well, you can read it if you want to. I'm not going to stop you. Anyway, the first video is split up into a timeline of events, the first being in 1989. What is Yuppie? In this video, we will be covering the string of disappearances connected to an unexpected incident that took place in the year 1989. An incident that has gone under the radar of law enforcement, the government, and any other organizations. The doll, known as Yuppie. In the year 1989, a doll was launched and advertised onto local television stations in the state of New Hampshire. The doll, Yuppie, was known for its, at the time, innovative recording technology. Later that year, the doll had gained minor popularity in the state and neighboring states in the New England region. The anonymous creator of the Yuppie doll had paid for it to be advertised, having presumably little funding. One ad was produced and ran on air. I feel like if this ad were real, it would definitely be in one of those old creepy commercial compilations. We see that the doll is both related to sleep and able to speak with recorded messages. The commercial closes out with the phone number being censored. Also, the narrator says the doll is $30, so calculating for inflation, that is $76. Although he does say if we get it now, we can get $10 off, but that would still be $50. This thing is not cheap. After viewing the ad, many called the phone number pictured in hopes for a quick response. Some callers waited some time on the line with no answer. Many callers also reported hearing a voice. The voice appeared to be distorted and corrupt, and only played for a short period of time. No records of this audio clip have been recovered, but the same details and description have been shared among the few that called. We now move ahead in time to 1992 with our first important character, Jordan Arman. In 1992, on January 12th, a man identified as Jordan Arman of Keene, New Hampshire, documented his encounter with the Yuppie doll he had purchased the previous Christmas for his son. Jordan had reported hearing a loud banging sound coming from his son's bedroom the night of the 11th. Jordan stated that it resembled the sound of a large board being broken. The morning of the 12th, Jordan found his son's room in ruin. Jordan's son, whose name will not be released, seems to have no recollection of this ever taking place, and seemingly slept well. The video goes on to state that the son heard Yuppie speak a few things to him before he fell asleep, including, "A new friend for us, keep your windows open for us, and sleep tight, new friend." Apparently, the doll was never programmed in a way for this to be possible, and audio needs to be recorded for it to say anything. The video goes on to affirm, Jordan and his son claim to have never recorded the documented lines into the doll. Jordan's son also mentioned the voice that came from the doll was not one he knew or recognized. Now at this point is when I personally would have thrown the doll away. Your son's room is getting trashed, it's saying things it's not supposed to, the thing's gotta go. Jordan went to local authorities about the odd incident but found no help. He speculated that it may have been due to the absurdity of the claims. I mean, fair enough. But then, in April of 1993, Jordan had decided to move to a new home with his wife and son. Only 5 days after moving in, Jordan found his son's room once again damaged. No photographs taken of the 1993 damage feature any prominent proof of an intruder of any sort. Local authorities, once again, were of no help. So now, the father sets up a camera in the hallway leading up to his son's room, which is his first good idea. He captures a few blurry images, but then eventually captures this image. So at this point, not only should he have thrown away the doll, but now he needs to burn it. And he needs to move again. And I don't know, man, contact a priest or something. The police aren't gonna help you. You cannot see this motherfucker in your house and do nothing. We set aside Jordan Armin's case for now and move on to some of the other victims. One Robert Mostis of Lincoln, New Hampshire, claimed to have seen a similar man when asked about it in an internet forum. Robert stated, "The thing looked around 20 feet tall when I saw it, standing right there in my backyard, right next to my daughter's purple doll." We then transition to a more snowy background and speed up 7 years in the future to the year 2000, the first disappearance. On December 12th of 2000, 17 people across New Hampshire reported their children missing. Many calls were received on the 12th, reporting that they had spotted some sort of suspicious black tall figure in their children's bedroom that night. Many of the phone calls were investigated, and the children were found. None of the children taken remember anything that happened, other than a few children that remember voice lines playing from their Yuppie doll. Almost all the children owned a Yuppie doll, or had a neighbor that owned one. So you don't even need to own one of these things, just have one within close proximity and it's over. A petition that week was started to eliminate all Yuppie products and dolls, and help to raise money for the families of the still missing children. The previously mentioned Jordan Armin's son had gone missing from his home on the 12th of December, and 3 weeks later, has still not been found. So, let me get this straight. This father buys a doll for his son. The doll begins saying things it's not supposed to, which is already pretty strange. His son's room gets trashed, and he sees this monster in his home. And he proceeds to not only keep the doll, but keep it for another 7 years. Father of the Year. Jordan stated, "I can see that thing in my home still. He better not be talking about the doll. It's a constant reminder that he's gone. There's nothing we can do but pray." We then get a few examples of encounters. One where a woman claimed to have been seeing the doll in her house, despite it not being there, and another where someone saw a tall man in their backyard playing on a swing set. And with 7 kids still missing, the authorities advised parents to set up cameras and look out for an 18-foot tall man or multiple men with a white mask. Is this a mask, or is it the face? We then get news that video evidence of the creature has surfaced from an anonymous source. No, I understand you enjoy the house, but I would enjoy it a lot more if you were not fucking in it. We then get more video evidence from one of the parents, Rachel Dennis, whose daughter is still missing, of a masked creature in her bedroom window. She has not seen the creature since. Unfortunately, in January of 2001, The 7 remaining children were found dead in an abandoned home in Manchester, New Hampshire, with slight bruising and swelling. The children seemingly had only died within the week of them being found, leaving many questions that are yet to be answered. In recent years, the presence of the Yuppie doll is almost fully non-existent. All dolls that have previously been owned are now being locked away or were burnt to prevent whatever spirit may have been within them to lose access to our world. We now go forward to what I presume to be when this specific video was made, 2006. Where is Yuppie now? Yuppie is not gone. Eliminating the physical existence of the doll will not prevent the demons from accessing us. The creature still waits in my home. The creature is a constant reminder. We then see the monster inside of Jordan Armin's home, speaking raggedly. The creature approaches the camera with a jump scare, and we get a brief glimpse of a missing poster. The video closes with the final statement. The only way we can help bring attention to these disappearances is by bringing light to it and remembering the ones we lost, hoping that the tragedies that occurred will never take place again. So that was quite a lot for a first video, but the next 2 videos are a bit lighter and fill in some of the gaps. First of these being Forever Friends. Description: Jordan here, referring to Jordan Armin. Got Luke a new stuffed animal thing today. Hope he likes it. 1 of 17. First victim. The video begins with what appears to be a black screen, but looking closely, we can see that it seems to be a child's face. We then see a drawing of a boy and the monster. Cut to a dark room with the creature creeping onto the screen in the background. It seems to be speaking, but it's hard to make out. It approaches the screen and we get a different shot of it in the living room, and it's now reverse talking. The video ends with a missing poster. Now let's go back, and I'm going to play the audio sped up and reversed with some enhancements, and I'll add subtitles so we can actually understand what it might be saying.
It's over. Look, I can finally be your friend. Forever. Your best friend.
Following up that video is one with the simple title of Grandma's Home. Second victim, Emma Mostis. I went to Grandma's for the weekend because Mom and Dad are out. Grandma wants me to play with the kids next door. They seem mean. I've been feeling pretty bored today. My grandma showed me the basement last night. She showed me her glass collection. I don't like the basement. It freaks me out. Yeah, I think it freaks me out too. She got me a present. It's a Yuppie. I've wanted one real bad. Why does everyone want this toy? It doesn't even seem particularly interesting. She goes to sleep, and unsurprisingly we see another one of the creatures standing over her bed. I saw something last night. It was a guy. Grandma thinks I'm fibbing, but I saw its teeth. We then see a drawing of her interpretation of the creature, and she states, "It pretended to want to be my best friend," showing that even this child can see through its lies. The final shot is an image of the monster's teeth with the sentence, "It took my Yuppie." So this seems to be the daughter of the previously mentioned Robert Mostis, so it seems he didn't even know what Yuppie was in the first place, considering he's not the one who gave her the doll. Also, he claims to have spotted one of the monsters next to his daughter's purple doll, so we can assume that she got the doll back at some point after it was taken. Returning to the main set of logs, we take a look at the Alvearium Logs entry 2, and I'll save the description for after this video as it will make more sense. The following clip is the only recovered archive of a game produced by the creator of the Yuppie Plus products. The video was found by an anonymous source and was forwarded to authorities as evidence. The title of the file was emilysgame.mov. Footage starts playing of a Find It type game called Spot the Yuppie. We see various liminal spaces with a Yuppie somewhere in the background. And let's just take one moment to appreciate the game's soundtrack. The game ends with a yuppie in an obvious place close to the screen. We then move to a police research log discussing the case of Emily Arlen. Officer David responded to a call from Arlen's father regarding photos taken as evidence of Emily Arlen's disappearance on the 12th. Little communication was had with Arlen's father, Nathan Arlen. Some photos were provided to the police, so let's look through those. A door, a mattress, a window with a hand, a note. Yuppie, you face make me happy. Yeah, I don't know about that one. And then a photo of their living room. And yep, there he is. Yes, thank you. I wanted to see that up close. After multiple attempts to contact the family in recent days, we have received no further information. On the 16th, Nathan Arlen stated to Officer Crayward, "The photos are proof he was here." We then hear audio of a phone call being made by Officer David, requesting for a few extra officers and some special equipment.
Sounds great. They need some sort of sound test done, so bring any equipment you can find. We should have a few cameras and microphones in the cabinet to the left. Okay, thank you.
The cameras are set up and we get to see a few shots of both inside and outside the residence. It's not until we get to the camera set up on the staircase that they begin to detect something. Sound tests were also conducted in Emily's bedroom. 3 tests were performed, with only the second test showing any evidence of Nathan Arlen's claim being true. It's as if it knows we're listening to it. We then see the footage and hear the audio. We hear both knocking as well as whispering. We cut back to the outside of the house and see text in the top right. We found her standing in her bedroom. Her body appeared contorted and unrecognizable. A false sense of hope, it's feeding on our sorrow. The cameras were kept running throughout the night, and its mask became visible. It knew we were there. The same zoomed-in image from earlier appears with some sideways text reading. It's using the doll as a gateway into our reality. Not the physical existence of the doll, but the entire thought of it. If we hide our pain, it will grow weaker. A phone call then plays with the same cop from earlier.
David, we're gonna need more backup. She's outside the house with us. She's in the house. Here.
The camera continues to glitch and the being appears once again, this time addressing us directly, contrasting against a white background with a simple message. "You can't be our friend, Jack. We're full. Emily needs her sleep. Tomorrow is a big day for her. It's her birthday." The description read, "Emily's family has relocated to a hotel in Lincoln, New Hampshire for an extended period of time following the recent findings. As of this morning, all communication between our officers and Nathan Arlen has been cut." Alright, so we're about halfway through all the videos, so let's take a little break and just go over everything really quick. So there's this monster, or multiple monsters traveling around and feeding off of the fear and dread of people. Many children have gone missing and some have even died. And this all seems to be connected to some sort of doll. The next few of these videos end up moving away from the doll and focus more on the motivations of the monsters and where they might originate from. How are we feeling so far? Good? Good. Let's get back to it then. Following number 2 is Alvearium Logs entry 3. The description reads, "Ryan Mason was found deceased in his home last night, with fatal wounds across the front side of his body. No trace of any home intruder. Can only be explained as a suicide." We open with a presentation of some sort, explaining a new concept, DDCEs. He goes on to explain that DDCEs stands for Duo-Dimensional Conscious Entities, and states that they are creatures that exist on opposing dimensions to us. They communicate with us by the process of choosing an entity within our world and latching onto it, using it as some sort of host. They are not only able to choose objects such as lamps, mirrors, and television screens, but can also latch onto thoughts, ideas, brainwaves, as well as existences. He gives us an example such as loss, where when we can picture a loss of some sort, we're opening a pathway to our mind in which these DDCEs can then enter our vision. Some ways that they can end up manifesting is within images in mirrors and knocking sounds on both walls and doors. They feed off of our fears and our sorrows, but there are certain ways that they can be avoided. When you stare down a dark hallway or into a mirror and start to feel a sense of dread, you have to remain composed as to not allow them to latch onto that dread. But the most important thing, according to our narrator, is to never become comfortable around these beings. Never acknowledge its communications.
Will allow it to become stronger, much stronger than it will be if it feeds off of your fear. Don't get used to its face. Don't get used to the sounds it creates. Don't get used to the things it tells you. Don't get used to any form of its appearance that it may try to show. Simply act as if the DDCE is not there, and it will create a roadblock, allowing it no access to our dimension.
We now cut to an experiment being conducted by somebody documenting their experience with one of these DDCEs. A lot of this text is cut off, so I'll just fill it in with what I think it says. I set up a containment area for it in the corner of my basement. The footage I have gathered has been chopped up and censored in a manner that will prevent the DDCE from accessing our brainwaves. We then see some footage taken over a long period of time with the area censored. Knocking is heard around 3 a.m., and the DDCE manifests itself into the footage. We get some more text. This mask is what it had on when I saw it later that night. I've seen it 7 different times within the past few days. It's becoming increasingly challenging with the pressure it's putting on my mind. We then see some footage on a screen with the DDCE and Morse code playing in the background. But the Morse code doesn't seem to translate to anything. The screen glitches and cuts out. The DDCE continues to talk to me almost every night. It has now on multiple occasions entered into my dreams and showed me information regarding a lake about 20 miles north of my town. The only real indication that the lake it showed me ever existed is a tape from 1988 that pictures a lake that resembles the one from my dreams. I found the archived video on an old YouTube channel about New Hampshire history last night. We see some VHS footage of the lake. Our current protagonist then sets off on a drive to the lake. And at this point, he continues to break almost every rule in regards to these DDCEs. Both he knows it and the DDCE knows it. And believe it or not, even other DDCEs know it. I feel like everyone in this analog horror could have made better choices. He arrives at the lake and arms start reaching out of it. Some creatures or symbols appear on the screen, and we get an ominous cut to what appears to be a section of the presentation from earlier, with ominous text reading, "Molecular Tomb." I can't find any more information regarding the things I saw at the lake. Nothing about what it did to my camera, nothing about the arm-like structures. Nobody even seems to see them there. Final piece I would like to mention is this YouTube channel I found. The channel titled Liam N45887 has only one video uploaded to it that shows an image greatly resembling the DDCE that I've been seeing. Almost identical, but not exactly. Though the video is unlisted and from 12 years ago, it ended up on my feed somehow. So this places this current video, at least in the timeline, at the very least in 2017, considering YouTube was made in 2005. So many years have passed since the whole Yuppie situation. And considering the current protagonist has not heard of Yuppie, it's reasonable to assume that most of that has been successfully covered up. The YouTube video begins to play. Proof that there is a ghost in my bedroom. At 3 a.m., I saw a ghost sitting at my door. I think it's a little bit more than a ghost at this point. Imagine seeing this and your first thought is to make a video for YouTube. Literally, it's been here for a few days, and I don't really like it. It started crying in my basement yesterday as well. It looks a lot like my friend Andrew from class when it starts talking. Liam seems to be having an experience similar to mine. I'm beginning to give in to the sounds more and more as the creature interacts with me. My pain is keeping it alive. There's only so much more I can take before it takes me. I'll cut its life support tomorrow. We then get to see one of the creatures in its most powerful form thus far. The next video is titled The Hive and has some Morse code in the description. It translates to 12 children, ages 7 to 16, were found at the bottom of the river, wrapped in a skin-like mass. The opening shot is that of a river, but it's interrupted by some red text on a black background. As of December 1st, 27 lakes across New England contain substantial traces of chlamydia pneumonia. No living organisms have been found. Enter the hive. It cuts to some footage of somebody in a labyrinth of some sort. They pass through a hallway and end up in a red-tinted room. The footage cuts out and we see them point a flashlight up at a massive creature. It approaches them and they seem to melt onto the floor. Full, but still hungry. The third to last video today is named It Followed Me Home. To close the hive, we begin with a PSA on boating safety, discussing proper boating safety and tips for out on the water. We got all the important safety tips here, like tip number 1, pack emergency equipment, tip number 2, knowing where to go, and tip number 3, if out on the water past 3:03 a.m., close your eyes. We see some footage taken on a boat, with a weird fleshy blob surfacing out of the water. If passengers are aboard your boat, advise them to stay still. If you or a passenger hears talking from a distant voice, do not acknowledge it. It cuts to VHS footage of someone at their home frantically looking around with their camera. It followed me home. They scan around their house with their flashlight, and in the final few seconds, they catch a glimpse of something outside their window. The penultimate video so far is the 4th entry in the Alvearium Logs. Description reads, 03 is when they arrive to the hives. It starts with another informative VHS, this time detailing the process of using something known as a 287 dimensional reader. It details the device. A thermal reader able to detect heat signatures of duo-dimensional organisms. The VHS is intercut with instances of someone dealing with one of these beings in their home. The camera is able to both show the landscape in front of it on our plane, but also opposing planes. The presentation ends and we return to the person in their home fiddling with a door. At 2:13, I began a test on the door using the 287 mounted on a table. Whatever it is that appeared on the monitor is not of base reality. The device seems to work. Some footage is shown of the device in action capturing a large tree-like figure. We see some more footage of them surveying their home, with paranoia seemingly creeping in. The thing's taken over my home. I saw the thing leaving last night, through my back door, and followed it down to the river, about a mile down the road from my place. The final parts of the video are them traveling outside. Strange noises as well as screams are heard. They begin to run. Loud droning noises are heard all around, and the final shot is this haunting image. The final video, released recently, is OutsideMyHome.mov. No description. Robert Warren, a farmer from southern Maine, shared with us a documentation of his encounter with an odd home intruder. From what we can see in the video, it appears to be some sort of animal with various malformations across its body. We are unsure why this animal would have any interest in entering the home. An interview with Robert Warren was performed after numerous calls were sent in regarding what he saw in his window. And this guy is the most unintelligible person I've ever heard. I don't know how the interviewers understood a single thing.
I'd say it's about 3 in the morning when I walked outside and I noticed him.
From the limited words that could be decrypted, it seems that the following footage just shows what happened. He chased some creature down the road and eventually found it, looking like it's straight out of Luigi's mansion. He went home and heard some knocking at his window, and the silly thing was out there. And one more little extra video since it got uploaded while I was still making this. It's called happyeaster.avi. Easter 1980 is when it came to us. I don't know, it's gross. This guy says Happy Easter, and it's not even fucking Easter. And that's everything so far. So I'll just do a brief summary of all the major things that happened so we can have a general overview of when everything happened, and then after, we can cover some theories on where this story might be going. In 1989, the first mention of a yuppie doll is heard in the form of a TV ad originating from an unknown source, airing only in the state of New Hampshire. Throughout the early 90s, this doll is purchased by an unknown amount of people and spreads across the New England area, with strange occurrences involving a tall man or multiple tall men with masks in close proximity to the doll. These cases remain isolated up until the year 2000 on December 12th, where 17 parents made calls reporting their children missing. 10 of the children are found, with the remaining 7 later found dead. The police now begin to actively investigate and are being taunted by the creatures, feeding off of fear and dread. A petition is started to burn all of the remaining Yuppie products. In 2006, Yuppie is seemingly out of the public conscience. Some of the parents are still being haunted by the DDCEs. This is where it can be a little fuzzy where the videos take place, because there's no outright confirmation when some of these take place, but I'll just assume they all take place around the same time. With the Yuppie doll now being a distant memory, the entities known as DDCEs don't seem to have that solid of a connection to our world. Except for in 2 key scenarios: when in close proximity to a certain lake and surrounding rivers, or when being seeked out. So sometime between 2017 and the present, certain individuals are being targeted by the starving creatures, becoming more and more aggressive. Researchers, as well as people near the lake, are being killed and followed back to their home. And they all seem to be coming from a central hive, likely located beneath Lake Botanipo. Although we've now seen them as far as Maine, so who really knows? So, some things I think we'll be seeing at some point in the series. I do believe we'll probably see the creature without a mask at some point, if it even is a mask. I think there will be more videos to fill in the gaps between Alvearium Logs 2 and 3. Another thing I didn't mention earlier was this small takeaway line where they said the creature looked like their friend. So the creatures might either be able to mimic their victims, or maybe just people related. And finally, I think the hive will likely be destroyed. If that stops the DDCEs, or just makes it so they're not contained, I do not know. If you enjoyed this series, I recommend subscribing to Hollow Walls. They released a community post saying that Episode 5 and a remake of Episode 1 are both coming this month. If you enjoyed this video, thank you for watching, and I appreciate you making it this far. If you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it, and I hope to see you next time.